also acts as a liaison with Human Resources, a new payroll software system allowing us to streamline both payroll and HR functions, an electronic open enrollment process, an electronic process for departmental claims submittal, an integrated voice response system, which enables customers to make payments via telephone 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Online registration for utility accounts, eliminating the need for the customer to make a trip to our office to set up an account. A state-sponsored fleet fuel card program. This more efficient program also offers discounts on fuel, which has resulted in a cost savings for the town. An updated and enhanced public assistance policy, and continued adherence to strong internal controls with stringent policies for cash and fund handling and for segregation of duties. I'd also like to share just a few quick statistics on our departments within finance and records. Accounts payable processed over 5,600 claims for town departments in 2018. Our wastewater billing department processed over 65,000 payments and billings in 2018, with total wastewater billing in 2018 at over $3.2 million. Our town court processed 441 cases in 2018. Total revenue generated was just over $70,000. In public assistance, we provided financial assistance to 34 households, serving 54 adults and 55 children. We invested over $58,000 in our community by assisting those in need last year. The Department of Finance and Records is unique because in addition to handling finances and record keeping, it oversees payroll, wastewater billing, town court, and public assistance responsibilities. We serve every department within the town. The department also acts as a sort of clearinghouse for the public. We handle all sorts of questions and problems from the public, many that are completely unrelated to any of our assigned job responsibilities. But our team always assists them in finding the answer or solving the problem. The entire staff of our department is genuinely committed to providing excellent ongoing customer service and support to the residents of the town of Zionsville. I just provided you with some highlights from 2018. All other statistics and information pertaining to the Department of Finance and Records, including all financial data, are included in the 2018 annual financial reports available online on the Gateway website. And I thank you for your time, and unless you have any other questions.
Any questions? Thanks, Amy.
Okay, thank you.
Joe, you're up next. Come on down.
Good evening, President Garrett, members of the council. Thank you for the opportunity to tell you about some of the technology department excitement for this year. We started out 2018 with completing the new town hall project here with all the monitors, AV systems, networking, cameras, door systems. We've had ongoing efforts to continue to improve every bit of that every single day. As a part of our commitment to improve service to the staff, we implemented a new work order system at the beginning of the year. All the departments now have a single unified method of contacting the technology department with any issues, such that we can track them and we can keep track of them and see if there's any trends or any items that we need to keep an eye on. And then as things move forward throughout the process of a ticket, the staff receives emails of status updates when things are completed, so they know that things are done even if they don't necessarily see us working on it. One of the major focuses of 2018 was improving security and network connectivity across all of our departments. We completed a private fiber project to connect the town hall down to the wastewater treatment plant. Part of that project also included improvements to security for the plant, gate controls, cameras, door controls. And we also replaced the phone system there and brought them all under the roof of the town's network. It was a major improvement for Barry there at the plant, and brought him up to speed with the rest of them. We've just completed connection upgrades to the golf course and to the nature center in the last couple weeks here, so that kind of rounds it out. We're still waiting on one last facility, but then everybody will be up on fiber optics. We also assisted ZPD in the transition from the old camera system in their vehicles, which was taking a lot of time and efforts and town resources, and moved to a cloud-based solution. The body cameras and the new squad car systems are much more efficient and easy to use. We're finding a lot of opportunities to assist the police department with the needs there and kind of bring things under one roof. We also assisted the Finance Records Department with what Amy talked about a little bit ago with their transition to the new payroll system and time clocks. We determined that there was a time clock that they could use for the hourly employees that would utilize our existing ID badges, so that we didn't have to purchase anything additional for the staff to be able to do clock in and out opportunities in the golf course and the nature center and those kinds of places. One of the other major connectivity projects was we replaced the video conferencing system that we had that controlled pretty much everything that we do in talking back and forth between our facilities and to the internet. The fire department utilizes this system just about every day, so they can stay in their response districts and have a meeting across all of the staff members that are on shift that day. But now they have the opportunity to be able to connect to the internet to have training with other departments if they so choose, or any other department in the town right now can do the same. So we have lots of areas where we can make those connections, and that is certainly a big improvement for all the departments. And then finally, this was our first full year of using a staffing provider to assist with technology in the tech department, and we've had a full-time staff member on for the last year with them, and they also provide 24/7 assistance if we need it. And they have assisted this year in a full security audit for me, looking at everything from top to bottom and working towards making sure that we're covered and that we don't have any holes in the network. And then they've also been helping with project planning, and we are just getting ready to get started with some major upgrades to how the town staff utilizes the office products and email and that under one roof as well. So with that, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to take it.
And this may be a question for Chief Knox. Recently in the news, had a big thing about the body cameras and how expensive it was to store that information. Is that a big concern for us, or?
It was. The older system, the expense of storing that information was all on us internally. The new system is all cloud-based. All of that information is stored in the vehicle until they get back to the police station, and then it's uploaded into the cloud. And so we don't have to purchase the storage, we don't have to back up that storage, and then have to maintain that for whatever length of time is necessary for any particular video that they bring in. So it's actually been an improvement for the technology department that we don't have to have that expense of all of that storage plus the backups.
So then I'm assuming we pay a service.
Correct.
For that.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Joe.
Thanks.
Next up, we've got communications. Amanda?
Good evening. Being in communications and community relations, my job duties day to day can shift quite broadly, so I'll try to highlight just a few of the key focuses. One of that is media relations. That's fairly consistent year to year, and that I'm regularly communicating with local media outlets to send press releases and make sure town news is covered. I sent about 43 press releases total, or about 3.5 a month last year. One of the big highlights was the addition of a new website. We now have a Zionsville tourism-focused website in addition to our government website. So this highlights the shops and restaurants and attractions in Zionsville. It served a need that people were really asking for. So that's an entirely new website. It also has a printable map of different Zionsville restaurants and shops, primarily downtown and Boone Village. That's available for people to print online or come in and get, and the Chamber also has it on their website. Another big part of my job is communicating with residents on a pretty much a daily basis with concerns or questions or feedback they may have. Throughout 2018, I communicated often with MetroNet and Duke about their services in town, and then was that link between residents and those two entities. Another big project last year that kicked off was the Town Hall Art Task Force. I found people that are local to Zionsville, either shop owners or residents or people interested in the arts, created a task force, and they are charged with commissioning art for Town Hall. So you'll see that first big commission piece coming probably this spring. She's already started on that. We continued with the Mayor's Night In events, which just continue to grow year to year. We see an average of 30 to 60 people, but again, they are growing as people find out more about them. That helps us stay proactive and engaging residents and hearing feedback from them, as well as they have the opportunity to ask questions directly to town staff and the mayor. We hosted Mayor for the Day with a Zionsville student. This has been a really fun new event where a student can come in and essentially be a mayor for the day and see what it's like to be in Mayor Hawk's shoes. I also continue to work with the Cultural District for the Sidewalk Poetry Contest, and that's also in coordination with the Street Department. You'll actually see 4 new poems stamped in downtown Zionsville. They were just stamped a couple days ago. So that is an ongoing project. Internally, I work with all the town department heads to serve as essentially the public relations agency here at Town Hall. So anything they need to get out to residents, I coordinate with them. As Joe mentioned, we got a new door unlocking system, so I've learned that, trained on that, and I think it's gone really well. Many of you all in here have utilized the meeting rooms, so I continue to schedule those with nonprofits. Of course, social media is a big part of my job, so we have our Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and e-newsletter, all of which have grown tremendously. Our Facebook page has almost 7,000 followers, and our e-newsletter has grown up to almost 3,000 followers. So seeing growth there as well. Any questions or feedback, comments?
Questions? Thanks, Amanda.
Thank you.
Wayne, you're up next, Planning and Economic Development.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the council. Here to talk to you this evening, certainly for the rest of the group, Wayne DeLong, Director of Planning and Economic Development with the town, and here to speak this evening about our year-end report we've provided to you. It's been I wouldn't say a banner year in terms of permit issuance and activities, but certainly a record-breaking year, but certainly it was a very busy year. 1,091 permits were issued, 6,589 inspections, which equates to about 8 inspections per day, which is an industry standard which we strive for, which helps with ISO ratings. With the Plan Commission and Board of Zoning Appeals, 52 petitions were heard by the Plan Commission, 46 by the Board of Zoning Appeals, with other service lines, with our up to about 6 boards and commissions which we work with every year, comprised of approximately 35 community volunteers. Your ZARC, the Zionsville Architecture Review Committee, and the CDC handled approximately $217,000 in grant awards this year, which our department managed. And certainly these service lines are something that we see steady growth with. And another item to mention for you is with those building permits mentioned earlier, you have about 4 to 8% of your housing stock experiencing some sort of change every year, which is a pretty healthy number for recognition of that reinvestment in the community. Looking forward to this year, we have the Executive Airport Strategic Plan that we're working on. The Indiana Department of Natural Resources is working on floodplain mapping and updates, which will affect both local streams as well as eventual updates to the flood insurance rate maps, which will hopefully have a positive impact on the overall community in the coming years. Probably look for that in about 3 years to be completed with the DNR's efforts there. The Community Development Corporation is looking to enhance their role with the community as they look to acquire the common areas within Creekside Corporate Park and work with that land related to their programming. Additionally, we're looking forward to recruiting and completing the conversations with 2 new staffers for the department, both our economic development planner and a new zoning technician. That concludes my comments. Happy to take any questions.
Any expectation for Creekside this year?
We have high expectations.
Okay.
We had, as I want to say, 5 or 6 purchase agreements which the department and the mayor's office and the town vetted, the RDC looked at. We have some even stronger leads this year. We had a very strong conversation at the end of last year with 3 different entities. I look to see some activity in the first quarter of this year, or I'm sorry, in the early second quarter of this year related to some signed purchase agreements.
Great. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, Mr. Lance, you look like you know you were up next.
Thank you, and good evening, everyone. I'll start off with just 3 statistics from the opening sections of my report, or as I like to call them, fun facts. We were able to treat 7.3 miles of roadway through either resurfacing or preservation techniques. And one thing that struck me this year as I reviewed statistics is we removed 167 tons of foreign material from our roadways, storm sewers, and ditches. That could be litter, debris, what have you, but that's 167 tons of pollution that didn't make its way into our waterways or into our properties. And finally, an alarming statistic I see this year was we had 10,409 requests to locate underground utilities. These are emails we receive that ask us to go out and look at where storm sewers are and where sanitary sewers are. And we responded in 2,424 instances. I think that a lot of that has to do with the amount of work Metronet's done in the area, but that's 1,130% higher than last year. So we're a little bit busy there. In administration, one of the exciting things was we did create and fill a new position this year for right-of-way manager. Hence those statistics I just mentioned, that really helped out with managing those. And one of the neat things that we started this year was an LED replacement program for some of the street lights that the town owns. 28% of the town-owned street lights, at about 275 lights total, have now been converted to LEDs. Finally, projects, which seems to be everyone's favorite subject. In addition to the efforts to advance the North-South Connector Road project and the Zionsville Road project, which we look to see some major strides in 2019, we completed some grant-funded street repairs utilizing over $480,000 of grants that we were awarded. We completed the 3rd and 4th Street storm sewer projects to eliminate localized flooding. We completed preliminary, I'm trying to combine words there to get out of your hair as quickly as possible, but we completed preliminary design of a new municipal complex. We did complete the 700 pathway connecting the Royal Run subdivision with the Z West Middle School. We received $82,500 in a joint funding application with the county to initiate a County Road 300 corridor study. And finally, one of the projects that I was most pleased with and proud of that kind of flew under the radar were the upgrades that we made to the Oak and Ford Road intersection right here in town. There are new sidewalks, so there is complete mobility on all 4 quadrants of that intersection, and the last 2 streets now have dedicated pedestrian signals. So I think that was really an improvement in a heavily congested area for both pedestrians and vehicles. So I'm happy to answer any questions you may have, and I thank you for your time this evening.
So if you receive 10,000 requests, and going on 2,500 is a lot, but why only go on 25%? When's the delineation between when you go and don't go?
There's a lot. There are 3 layers of decision criteria on there. We discount, first go through by depth. Everything's reviewed by depth. And if it's less than 2 feet, we immediately discount it. And that's the first person's review. The second person reviews it and just looks at it. Do we have facilities in the area? If we don't take any action. So it eventually gets pared down to the slightly over 2,000 instances where we had to go out and make some type of determination or location.
Makes sense. Anyone else?
Was that homeowners asking for that, or was that Metronet asking for that?
Anybody? It's homeowners, it's contractors, it's utilities, it's anybody who wants to work within the public rights of way. So what that does is really give a good idea. There's a lot of stuff going on within our roadway right-of-ways. It could be anybody from I'm putting a new mailbox in to I'm running a new fiber bank.
Thanks, Lance.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Barry, you're up.
Good evening, Town Council President and fellow councilors. To go along with that locate the discussion that we just had, my department gets to pay for those. So it's 98 cents per locate. So seen just a huge increase in that this year. Fun fact, that was just a fun fact. I want to throw that out there. I have the privilege to discuss the wastewater department utility for the year of 2018. As the town has been growing, so has the utility, obviously, and we're financially in really good shape. A lot of the upgrades in 2018 were to the collection system. We had a major upgrade to Clarkston Lift Station, which had new pumps, rails, and a new control panel. We repaired 2 sewer mains and alleys off of 3rd Street as part of the sewer rehab plan. And that was something that was planned. It's been planned out for the sewer rehab project. We added 3 new lift stations due to development in Zionsville in 2018. They were the newest lift stations since Zionsville Road in 2008. And we had 3 in 1 year. So that's pretty amazing. We also added 2 generators to 2 other lift stations utilizing a generator that had been upgraded at Irishman's Run lift station, and it had been sitting at the plant just kind of wasting away. We were able to get that up and running and using that again at a new lift station. So in total, we have 26 lift stations now in town. 22 of those have emergency generators. So I think that's pretty good. That's pretty good for a small community like we have. We added 1 new piece of technology in 2018, and that is a trailer-mounted pump that can be used to pump around a lift station in emergency situations. So it's just another tool that we have that we can pull out in case a lift station were to fail due to power. Generator would have to fail as well, obviously. But for lift stations that we don't have generators, we can hook that up and get those going if need be. 2018 was also a year of preparation for the future with the 3 new sewer main projects. We did a lot of planning on that leading up to the bonds this year. So, and we're also looking at future upgrades at the plant that are going to require more water coming in. So we're going to have to look at ways of being able to process that water. So there are many things to come here in the future. I gladly welcome fiber technology to the plant. We've not had a good internet connection for as long as I've been there, which is about 20 years. We also started an upgrade project with the SCADA system. It's all outdated. We can't get parts for it anymore. So we started phase 1 last year. We'll be doing phase 2 and 3 this year and finishing that up. Lastly, I just wanted to mention that as the superintendent of the utility, we have taken a cooperative approach to working with all the other departments these last few years, including last year. And Amy mentioned some of that, and it's just the departments work well as a team, I think. And it starts from the very top with the mayor and the deputy mayor, and it trickles down to all the department heads and then the staff members as well. I'm just proud and thankful to not only be a part of, but making a difference in this great town of Zionsville. I wanted to lastly mention, I was going to unveil the wastewater mascot, but I'm going to hold that for future meeting.
Oh, dang it. All right.
So sorry.
All right.
So thank you, and I'll be glad to answer any questions.
I can only imagine.
I know I want to ask you about the mascot, but I don't want to ruin the unveiling.
Yeah, where'd you find it?
All kinds of possibilities. Just use your imagination.
I went right to South Park.
Yeah, me too.
All right. Thank you, Barry.
Thank you.
Good job. Matt Parks?
Not sure I can follow that.
Thank you, members of the council, Mayor Hawk.
This is all in your report. I'll just do some highlights. First, a couple quick tidbits. In 2018, we did 3 times the number of landscape tree plantings as we did in 2017. That'd be 45 trees, primarily in 3 parks, but not entirely there. But Heritage Trail, Elm Street Green, Mulberry Parks. Competitively contracted at $17,000 of costs that include purchase, installation, mulching, and a 1-year warranty on those trees. Regarding yearly emerald ash borer efforts, between 55 and 60 trees, infected trees were dealt with this year, primarily by dropping in some manner or another, some with park staff, but mostly competitively outsourced to multiple firms, and 3 to 4 contracts on either side of leaf come out and leaf drop. The trees remains are left to return to the cycle of life. They're healthier for the remaining urban forest. It acts as a base of the food chain, homes for wildlife, fertilizers for the rest of the trees as it decays. Less cost by far than double handling by either carting off or chipping the materials. And it's less likelihood of a public relations issue as if the wood's utilized and moved around and someone else's tree gets infected. Now, even before these 2018 efforts, we took our parks maintenance seriously. We heard public respondents' questions to a question about the 5-year Park and Recreation Master Plan. When asked how you would rate the condition of Zionsville parks and facilities, 83% stated parks conditions were either excellent or good. That was 25 and 58 is the breakout on those two. Only 6 people responded, not 6%. 6 people responded conditions are poor. Now some exciting grants and capital projects. Zionsville Golf Course Irrigation Project. We were saving money each year, but the mayor saw that would take several more years. In cooperation with you folks on the council, an accelerated budget request was put forward and timeline to accelerate that. So starting in October, per consultants' recommendations, we had over 200 irrigation heads in place with their supply lines also. The weather did close in, but for 2019, we only need to drill the well. The already on-site pump control pallet needs to be moved to the well location and connected, and electrical wiring run. So we're getting ready to do that. We're talking to the well company even now. Lake and River Enhancement Project, a layer project for a $100,000 grant for Starkey Park. State moved their Fawn River layer project ahead of ours, and we started as soon as they allowed us, and completed 2/3 of it in October. Barry mentioned Cooperative Ventures. This is helping stabilize his outfall pipe, and he's fiscally participating in this project. Land and Water Conservation Fund for $200,000, LWCF for Overly Warman. We signed the grant contract that came back to us from the state in early autumn. We have a certain number of year timeline on that. The Park Board is currently awaiting funding decisions on how much can be sent towards this project, preferably within the next month or no more than 2. The Park Board needs to start consultant selection for a quote process to do construction documentation and bidding documents on a project anticipated to start construction next year on Overly Warman. Whatever that's decided to be, would it be all of it at once or a third portion to match the grant? It just depends. To perhaps help with that question, here's another question from the 5-year master plan. The question was, do you believe a park bond funding approach should be implemented? Over 78% strongly agreed or somewhat agreed. Normally the highest positive answer for a question like that is somewhat agree, but in our case, the strongest answer was strongly agree, and it was 50%. This was nearly twice the level, somewhat agree, which came in at 28.5%. There were only 2.3% that somewhat disagreed and 2.91% that strongly disagreed with the statement about bonds. And now, similar to some of the other departments, I have just a brief look ahead. A pretty exciting thing. We started in 2018, but really most of the work was done in 2019. You've heard about the Next Level Trails program that the governor is putting $90 million over several rounds. The first round of that was February 15th and was $20 million for regional projects like ours. We put in an application for essentially building 1.78 miles of trail, extending our rail trail both ways. That would be new pavement. However, it also connects with, on each end, about 0.25 on each end of pavement that's already done, but kind of orphaned, unconnected. So effectively, if we were fully funded, the grant would get about 2.28 miles of trails total on either side. Our grant anticipates investment and a value of $2.65 million, of which 1.9 is the grant request itself, if fully funded. We have estimated value in donations and pledged land gifts of $330,000. We're still working on more donations, and if we got some more for land, but if we didn't, we anticipate our match, which would be used for land acquisition, would be $350,000. Now, that's the good news. The bad news we heard today that the governor announced late last week, 82 applications around the state from 42 counties asking for $144 million when they have $20 million. So it's a very competitive process. Other than that, if any questions?
Any questions for Matt? No. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it. Chief Knox?
President Garrett, town councilors, audience, I'm Rob Knox, your chief of police. 2018 was a challenging year for us. On many fronts, however, along with the challenges, brought many opportunities to advance the agency along the way. In 2018, we had retirement, some resignations, retirement of a over 20-year officer, resignations of a couple officers that went to other law enforcement agencies, and one a resignation that decided to pursue a career in the private sector. But we've also hired 8 new police officers, and we have conditional offers out. Well, we'll be hiring 2 more March 11th, and we still have 1 opening to fill. Just this last Sunday, we did a physical agility exam for lateral applicants, and the new hiring process is moving along well. In mid-year, we were required to staff 3 more officers into the Zionsville Community School System. We now have an officer in each one of the, a police partner in each one of the urban area Zionsville Community Schools. In March, we experienced the loss of a fellow police officer. I think, as everybody knows, Officer Deputy Jacob Pickett lost his life in the line of duty, and it was tremendously hard for everybody, the community as well. But in every way, Jake Pickett's going to be a hero in all of our lives forever. After, it was already mentioned, after much due diligence, we researched and signed a contract for new body cameras and in-car cameras for the entire agency, and they have now been assigned and deployed out into all the officers and vehicles. This last year, we signed a contract to replace all the mobile and portable police radios, majority of them. We had to do this because the current radios were coming to the end of life, and now all the police officers will have the very same type and model of quality radios that they carry on their person and in their vehicles. This last year, Zionsville Police Department responded to over 17,500 calls for service, and while that is down from the previous year, we certainly hope that's a trend we continue to see. However, January of this year, that trend has not continued, but the men and women of Zionsville Police Department is working very hard to carry on that trend, we hope. This last year, we hosted our 10th annual Teen Academy. Again, very robust, very well attended, huge success. Zionsville Police Department hosted the 2nd annual Citizens Academy, and likewise, it's been a success beyond our wildest imaginations. We've provided security to over approximately 39 special events, Fall Festival, Christmas in the Village, Miss Indiana, and many other 5K bicycle rides and races along the way. This last year, we authorized your Zionsville police officers that's in uniform to wear outside the vest tactical ballistic vest carriers. And we just even upgraded that again to a different model. This takes a lot of weight off of the hips, and it's good for the health and safety of the officer. Puts it on the torso. It's been very well received and by the officers. I can go on and on about a lot of different things that we've done. The Honor Guard was called upon again to present the national colors, the courthouse, the American Legion, fantastic community partners of ours in the Zionsville Community Schools. Again, I think everybody knows we participate in drug take-back programs, was off-site from the Zionsville Police Department along with our pharmaceutical drop box in the lobby. And to date, since we first put that in, we have collected over 4.4 tons of unwanted pharmaceuticals and medicines off the streets, thus keeping them probably out of our waterways. And I think Barry probably appreciates that not being flushed out to his place. I'm here to answer any questions that you may have, or anything you want to talk about.
Questions for Chief? All right, thanks, appreciate it. Deputy Chief Miller?
Good evening. Give a brief review of some of the things that took place in the fire department last year. With a focus of safety, community involvement, improving some of our routine procedures, we were able to accomplish a lot in 2018. We hired a new public educator, Vincent Randolph. This helped us bring our critical age appropriate life-saving education to the residents and students of the school systems, which increased our contacts 77%. Public education programs contacted over 10,000 people. We accomplished our first ever Citizens Academy, where residents were able to see what it takes to be a firefighter. The Citizens Academy was a huge success and was a brainchild of one of our firefighters, Benji Johnson, that came to light. This program was well reviewed, and we look forward to doing our second Citizens Academy yet in 2019, starts in April. So if you haven't signed up, please do so. So, small plug for our fire department there. With a focus on safety, we were able to add 5 additional tornado warning sirens in the community. The department also fulfilled its ISO and accreditation manager in April, and this prepared us for our ISO or insurance service audit evaluation, which we will get later on this year, and we look forward to getting that. This evaluation focuses on the safety of our firefighters and our residents. We also hired a facilities manager in 2018 to address the building and ground issues and repairs for not only the town hall but the 4 fire stations. This facilities manager position was filled by Jeff Pratt. He's currently wrapping up vehicle exhaust system upgrades in all the fire stations, the fire station, Station 92 addition, and converting all the lighting at Station 93 to LED lighting for cost savings. After months of research and planning, we transitioned to new scheduling and payroll software. The software programs have helped us tremendously in streamlining the scheduling and payroll processes. We are able to now be able to pull data and reports that help us with organizing our days, and also helps us give us the information to not be able to keep it on multiple spreadsheets. It puts it in one place. So that was a huge time saver for us. We also replaced aging fire engine, an aging ambulance, and a battalion vehicle last year. We added ballistic vests to each staff person. We upgraded our UAV program. Thanks to the hard work of our division chief of training, Mark Hart, and others, we logged over 18,000 hours of training last year in 1 year. Our employees have also been busy transporting nearly 1,100 patients to local hospitals and responded to over 2,400 calls for service. We held our 18th annual awards program where we recognized the efforts of our staff, and also 20 years of our support service division. Lance Turner was administratively appointed to battalion chief. Elliot Russell earned the merit rating of promotion to captain, and Ben Box was earned the merit promotion to lieutenant last year. Those are just a few highlights of what we did last year. I'd be happy to answer any questions that maybe I didn't cover in those topics.
Questions? Thanks, Brian. Appreciate it. Ed, you're last.
What they said. I'd like to take a minute just to highlight a couple of items that all of our other departments did not already mention. Obviously, one of the most important things we do every year with you through the mayor is the budget process. We had a very smooth budget process this year with the help of Crow and also with Barnes and Thornburg. We have a very healthy balance in many of our funds, and we're doing very, very well. Again, very solid management on the part of all of our departments. We continue to work on keeping our code of ordinances updated. I work with American Legal Publishing every year to complete all the updates to the various ordinance citations that we amend during the year. That was done again in 2018. As you noted, we continue to work towards the development of Creekside Corporate Park. The mayor is very involved along with the Redevelopment Commission in Wayne, in trying to move that forward. We did a needs and site study of the former Rail Trail Gardens property for future use as relocation of the Street and Stormwater Department, Park Department, and Nature Center. We are now looking at various methods and timing of trying to begin to put in some of those improvements. We did finish out the unused second floor area of Town Hall. Was just completed for use as expansion space for Z-Works. This is basically Z-Works 2. We were in the process of talking to a couple of potential tenants for a couple of those spaces. An important thing that we did do was the completion of the process transitioning areas of the town from the rural to the urban service district. There was a lot of work involved in that. Also getting trash and recycle set up, and through Amy's office, and especially with the help of Angie Agers and others, we were able to do yeoman service on that. As you see outside, steel came up out of the ground today. SEEK did break ground on their new 2-story office building on the outlot of our town hall PUD. We did complete the bonding for the north-south connector and Zionsville Road Street projects, which Lance alluded to. We have SRO officers in all of the schools now, thanks to a cooperative effort of the county sheriff's office, school corporation, and the Zionsville Police Department with the town. And finally, we did complete pedestrian pathway and enhancement to the Zionsville Road Bridge. And I'd like to take just a minute to say that it's rare that you have a chance to work with a group of people as dedicated as the individuals that I get the chance to lead along with the mayor. I think one of the reasons I'm still here after 20 years is because of the people you see sitting there. They make our job and they make us all look good. Thanks.
Thank you, Ed. Appreciate the updates to all of you. It's been a busy year. I'll echo what Ed said. Thank you for everything you do for us and for this town and what your staffs do. So next, we've got requests to speak. I have one, Mr. Robert Betts. If you'd like to go to the podium, if you give your name, address, and you've got 3 minutes, I'll start timing you after your address, and I'll give you a 1-minute warning if you need it.
Thank you, President Garrett and members of the council. I've been a resident in Austin Oaks here since 2005. The address is 11664 Promontory Trail. I've spent the last 4 or 5 years researching the adverse effects of electromagnetic fields, particularly from basically wireless communications of all sorts, and how it adversely affects the human body and nature in general. And I ran across the other day an article from the Environmental Health Trust that I thought was very poignant to the subject, and I thought that I should pass it on to you for consideration, because it gives a lot of details and a lot of sources of information that typically a lot of people don't have an opportunity to find, or unless you have a lot of time on your hands, as I have with being retired. I have educated myself over the years of trying to keep myself healthy. So I've printed out a page for each of the council members. And then I just recently ran across an article from a Dr. Joseph Mercola. He's a doctor up in Chicago who publishes a newsletter and interviews quite a number of people in all different walks of the medical industry. And he had quite a lot to say about the subject. So I was able to print that off, and I'll pass that on. So
Thank you.
Thank you for your consideration.
Appreciate the information.
Thank you.
All right, we have no old business. We'll move on to new business. First up is a consideration of an ordinance to amend the 2019 salary ordinance for the town of Zionsville. This is a first reading. This is ordinance number 2019-03. Deputy Mayor Mitro.
I'll intro this, and I think Lance will be giving you a little more detail. As you're all aware, we lost a very important member of the Street and Stormwater Department with the departure of our stormwater assistant superintendent. Lance has been very diligently looking to try and find a replacement, and with a very technical job that is, they are few and far between. I think I will allow Lance to explain the efforts and the reason for the request.
Yes, thank you. Just to supplement a little bit of what Ed said, we've put out some word through professional organizations trying to recruit people. We've had some applicants. The most qualified applicant basically turned their nose up at the salary range that this position previously paid. This position really only exists, and this is just kind of a dart thrown at the wall, in probably 100 places across Indiana, because this is a uniquely municipal position. It's permitting, it's regulation of our NPDES permit and compliance with the town. So there's not a large pool from which we could draw. I continue to talk to people, but there is one person that I have known in the industry loosely for several years, whose credentials are impeccable. They possess the training, the experience, and the education to fulfill this role quite nicely. This happens to also be a professional engineer, so they are a licensed engineer in the state of Indiana. So I'm engaged in conversations with this particular individual. The current salary ordinance was not adequate to lure them. I've lost two good people to this, one a current employee or a past employee, and one an applicant, and I don't want to strike out thrice. So I'm asking your consideration to amend the salary ordinance, and recall that this ordinance sets a maximum. We will not start at the maximum. We negotiate. I believe we have a range somewhat below the maximum you would be setting, that this person would come to the town. This person understands, however, that the council must take this action before we can continue discussions on a final and finalize a salary. So I'd be happy to answer any specific questions, but that's kind of it in a nutshell. Just asking for your help to recruit the talent necessary to fulfill this job in a commensurate role the town would expect.
In my understanding, this is just amending the ordinance for this specific role to get within a reasonable guidance to attract this talent.
Correct.
Is there any time crunch in here? I know we've got to go through a first reading, then a second reading. I mean, if we did this all tonight, does that help in showing this candidate that we're serious about getting them?
That would send a very supportive message to the candidate, and it would also help me a lot, as I've had a vacant seat for 3 months, and I've been pulling quadruple duty in trying to fulfill those. So the quicker that we can move this along, that would be the best. But of course, it is your decision and your policies which we're prepared to follow.
If we wanted to go down that path, Heather, we just go through the normal path and then make a motion to bypass the rules?
So we would vote on the amendment in first reading, and then we would call for a motion to suspend the rules to be able to allow it to come back on second reading tonight. And so you would do actually 3 votes.
Got it.
And you'll need a unanimous decision of the council to be able to suspend the rules.
On the second one.
vote.
That makes sense. Brian?
Of the present council.
Correct, right, of the members. that
Good
are-
clarification there.
Yeah.
Good clarification.
Lance, is the stormwater assistant superintendent, is that a more technical job than the streets assistant superintendent?
Yes, yes, it's much more highly technical than the street superintendent.
So the assistant superintendent of streets not going to come back and say, hey, wait a minute, you need to up my pay?
No, he may, but that's a conversation that will be very short. He's very qualified. Each one has different roles and responsibilities and levels of responsibility. But yeah, this is a much more technical position.
Okay.
Any other questions for Mr. Lance? If not, I'll make a motion to introduce on first reading.
Second.
Okay, we got a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? All right, motion to introduce ordinance number 2019-03 on first reading passes with a vote of 4 in favor, 0 opposed. I would actually make a motion then to suspend the rules and get through this in one sitting. Do I have a second from Councilor Hopper? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? All right, is all of us. So then we need a motion for the second part, or I guess I'll make that a motion.
Motion to approve.
Okay, we got a first. I'll make a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? All right. Ordinance number 2019-03 passes with a vote of 4 in favor, 0 opposed. Go get your guy or gal.
I thank you very, very much.
Absolutely. Next up is a consideration of an ordinance to reestablish the Cumulative Capital Development Fund. This is a first reading. This is ordinance number 2019-04. Deputy Mayor Mitro, you're back up.
Thank you. Item B and C, although different ordinances, are essentially related. As you probably recall, we have the Cumulative Capital Development Fund and also the Cumulative Firefighting Building Equipment Fund. Those are funds that are set, rates are set every couple of years. We go back to actually reestablish those two rates so that we can then get the highest amount of tax for those particular funds. What this does is reset both the CCD fund, which will not exceed 0.05 on each $100 of assessed value. Excuse me, I'm going to lose my voice here. The other is the firefighting fund, and that is 0.0333 for each 100 of assessed value, and that would be levied beginning with taxes for 2019, payable 2020. This is a first read for both of these, introduction. We have our representative, Mark Adam from Crow here, should you have any questions at this point.
Just one, and this is really not directly on topic, but because we're talking about CCD, the CCD fund, I feel like this is probably one of the most misunderstood funds that we have available to us. If you don't mind just kind of explaining what that fund is for, I think the more times people hear it, the better.
Yeah, it is basically for capital improvements of various types, whether it be equipment, whether it be projects. Most often it's used for projects. It is basically the entire town pays into that. There are a number of uses that you can make of that fund. They're all set by state statute. We've basically just adopted state statute. Road projects, pavement projects, various equipment, vehicles. It has a wide variety of uses. Again, pretty much stated very clearly in statute what it could be used for. Most of what we use it for tend to be project related, whether it be street projects, stormwater projects of various types that we've done over the years. We have bought equipment with it as well. Certain equipment is allowed.
Right. Since the public safety lit, we're not using the CCD for police cars, correct?
Correct. Right. Correct. We have not done that for a good number of years now.
Right. That's just a common question I get. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions on this? As we'll take a motion.
Move to approve.
The first from Councilor Spies.
Second.
Second from Vice President Traylor. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion to introduce ordinance number 2019-04 on first reading passes with a vote of 4 in favor, 0 opposed. Next up is a consideration of an ordinance to reestablish the Cumulative Firefighting Building Equipment Fund. This is a first reading. This is ordinance number 2019-05. Don't lose your voice yet, Ed.
No. This, as I just brought up, I kind of talked about them both together. This is the Fire Building Equipment Fund. This money is often used for various projects. Again, our Station 93 was basically purchased without using any kind of funding mechanism by saving over the years. We basically paid cash for it. We also have a lot of the various equipment that we have for the fire department, whether they be EMT vehicles, fire trucks. A lot of that comes out of this particular fund. and is a very important part of the fire department's ongoing budget.
Is the fire station renovation number 92 coming out of that too?
I believe so. 92's, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Correct.
I was curious. Any questions on this one? All right, I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Vice President Schraler. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion to introduce ordinance number 2019-05 on first reading passes with a vote of 4 in favor, 0 opposed. Next is a consideration of an ordinance amending and restating Title I of the Town of Zionsville Code of Ordinances, Chapter 10. This is a first reading, ordinance number 2019-06. Ms. Willie?
Yes, so council members and for members of the public, we have not done a comprehensive update to our code of ordinances since we did our 2 reorganizations. So to bring greater transparency to the public, to the people that live here and do business here, we felt like it would be important to start going chapter by chapter through the entire code over the course of the next several months to update terminology and to ensure that all of the terms that the town adopted with the reorganization are now reflected in the code. The other thing we're doing as we go through these chapters is cross-referencing Indiana statute to make sure that our references in our code are the most up-to-date, and if there's been statutory changes that in some way have impacted the way we have our codes drafted, we're updating those as well. And so you'll have 2 ordinances tonight, 2 sections of our code, first and second sections, and we'll kind of keep going from there over the course of the next several weeks and months. The first one in Title 10 you'll see is just mainly updating the definitions and terminology. For example, we no longer have the position of clerk treasurer. We now have a mayor, a deputy mayor, and a director of department and public records and finance. So we're just making those changes in Chapter 10.
Some of those references are kind of old, so it's a good exercise. Any questions for Heather on that process? I'm going to take a motion.
Motion to approve.
Got a first from Councilor Spies. I'll second him. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion to introduce ordinance number 2019-06 on first reading passes with a vote of 4 in favor, 0 opposed. Last on new business, we've got a consideration of an ordinance amending and restating Title III of the Town of Zionsville Code of Ordinances, Chapter 30. This is a first reading, ordinance number 2019-07. Heather, anything to add on this one?
Again, this is largely updating language from our reorganizations. We used to have town wards instead of town council districts, so it's changing that old terminology, reflecting the new terminology. We also used to have a lesser number of members elected. We now have 7 members of the council, so we're changing that as well. And then lastly, updating language to be more consistent with Indiana State Code that does not allow for any term limits. So we're removing term limits that were previously included in our code of ordinances and then updating all of the sections of code accordingly. And you'll see also there's the new maps. So we're replacing the old map that was included in our code of ordinances and replacing it with the new map, which reflects our 7 council districts.
Mm-hmm. Questions for Heather? No? Take a motion?
So moved.
Got a first from Councilor Hopper.
Second.
Second from Vice President Traylor. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion to introduce ordinance number 2019-07 on first reading passes with a vote of 4 in favor, 0 opposed. Next up, other matters. Mayor Hawk, I think you had something to go over for the council.
Good evening. We've got our calendars coordinated now. Tonight, it's my pleasure to introduce to you Zionsville's new town judge, Samantha Spencer. Samantha grew up in Zionsville, graduated from Zionsville High School, Indiana University, Bloomington, for her undergraduate degree. And after working for a number of years, she attended the IU Robert McKinney School of Law. She graduated summa cum laude and is licensed to practice both in Indiana and in Florida. Best of both worlds. Following law school, Samantha's town court will be held in Florida too in the winter. Perfect. So, following law school, Samantha joined the law firm of Carlton Fields in Orlando. She practiced a wide range of business litigation matters in federal and state court, including contractor disputes, real property disputes, and insurance disputes. She's good at disputing. Samantha also served on the board of directors for the Samaritan Village, a nonprofit dedicated to assisting survivors of human trafficking. Samantha, her husband Steve, and their 2 boys recently returned to Zionsville to be closer to friends and family. She cares deeply about Zionsville, is excited to serve, has already started, and we welcome her. Great.
Welcome.
Welcome. And you're running, right, for to be great.
Excellent.
We're happy to have you. Thanks, Mayor Hawk. Next up, approval of claims. I'll make a motion to approve. Second from Councilor Spees. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Claims are approved by a vote of 4 in favor, 0 opposed. Bonus extra credit for the kids that stayed the whole time. Good for you.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second from Councilor Hopper. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We are adjourned by a vote of 4 in favor, 0 opposed. The next regular town council meeting is scheduled for Monday, March 18th, 2019 at 7:30 a.m. right here in the Zionsville Town Hall Council Chamber.
Nobody's listening to you.
I know. I'm just putting it on the record. No one's listening to me in the middle of the meeting.
But I'm not going to say over this mic.
I just,
Glad to have you.
no, I won't, because then I just put it away. And I'm like, I gotta put that away. Thank you.
That I have to make copies of that.
No problem.
But I'm not there.
Hey, Jeff.
And I'll give you these.
Good to see you, Phil.
Oh my gosh.
We are.
It's nice. It is.
Was that fun?
Great.
Oh, how are you?
You want to come back next month?
Oh, no. Yeah, that'd be great. Congratulations to you.
Oh, good, good. Hopefully it stays away. Yeah, yeah.
That's even older than me. So.
79, so I'm so old.
She does. This is Lily.
Do you actually claim him?
Answer wisely.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth. Very nice to meet you as well.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, you had to come sit there alone.
Coming in. And you had to sit through the whole thing. We should have put you first, but it's not that interesting. I'm more up there.
Do you at least get dinner out of this whole deal?
The updates are good.
We already had dinner, didn't we?
Oh, good.
We had, so before this, immediately before this, we had square dancing with the Girl Scouts.
Oh, how cool.
Yeah.
How do you do?
Heather and I were doing it references town meeting.
But not me.
Good. That's the fun stuff.
Oh, yeah. So the deal was, I told her I could go to the square dancing, but because it was immediately before this, she would have to come here with me.
Hey, they're a worse place to be.
But we don't have that.
I'm out front for a 10-year-old.
Hey, now you know what he's done these 9 years. There he is.
Yeah.
So,
Well, appreciate the
well, he's good to work with. Good stuff. It's an important job. It truly is. Yeah. So glad you could come here and see it. See him in action.
Yeah, this was actually, like, they did all the time. They had to tell about what they had done all year last year.
Yeah, that was it. They don't always talk like that. Sometimes Mr. Garrett will get it done in like 10 minutes.
Yes.
Your dad's not as quick when he runs the meetings, but he still does a good job. It was good to get to see. In fact, a couple weeks ago, when some of my son's friends were in the crowd, they were taking pictures and like, wait, is this your mom? She does actually do what she says she does. Yeah, thanks. So.
Are you okay if Jeff and Matt come in for 10 minutes on Friday and talk about a parks thing run by us?
Very nice.
Mayor, at our executive meeting?
Double check, make sure.
Is that exciting for you? You know, it's okay. You can say no. It's okay. I won't be insulted.
Oh, let me tell you though, if he weren't running it,
Oh my gosh, your dad runs it. It's like parties. There's like
if I had been running it, no, it would have been 2 hours instead of 1. No, that's fine.
I sign up to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Lost to.
See you later.
We start at 7 and then we just end when
He runs a good meeting. He runs a good meeting. That's why I was good with him being president 2 years in a row. I'm like, absolutely.
Then the motion to approve Willing is two that was.
Can you listen to the recording or make it up?
I'll listen to the recording.
Because it was unanimous. Brian, are you good then Friday? You want to play? You'll come by at 8? 8:15? Does that work? Yeah. We'll see you Friday, Joe.
Okay, I'll just listen to the recording.
I don't want to. I'm sorry.
That's all right. Great American Blue. All right.